back in studio. Season 2 of Pacific Indians Chatter. Didn't know we were going to make it through Season 1, let alone have a Season 2. I'm your host, Cody Kelly, joined with my co-host, Scott Brown.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Cody. I know we're a couple weeks into the school year, but we needed some organizational time to get things rolling. But hopefully we'll be with you every week here the rest of the way out.
Yeah, like I talked to some people, they know it's a volunteer thing we do to put this out for the kids. We got to get used to the school year, too, and accustomed. So.
And you're doing a little coaching right now.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit. You'll hear about that in Riverbend Roundup, I guess, because you have one of the 7th grade girls basketball coaches on the show now every week.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting for you.
Maybe I'll sit in for an interview, so finally I can be on the other end of that thing and people can find out a little bit about me.
That'll be a big one.
So for those of you that do remember the format, let's go Riverbend Roundup to start off.
Yeah, the cross-country team at Riverbend is off and running. I guess that's a little funny I'll throw in there. Yep. They competed on the weekends. They compete on Saturdays. And last Saturday at House Springs, the girls team placed second overall as a team. Elizabeth Jenkins finished in 4th. Cheyenne Brinson was 6th, and Lily McCann finished 13th for the girls in an impressive finish for second place at House Springs. The boys' top finishers were Dax Harrison. He finished 14th. Mason Vondre came in 17th. I know he's excited about running, the 7th grader, and the cross-country kids are working hard. Coach O'Neill says they continue to shave off times each week since their first time trial run of the season, and they continue to go on Saturdays.
Then we had girls basketball started their season off this Monday at Washington. Not how we would like to start, but 7th grade played a pretty competitive ball game against a fairly good Washington team. Lost 17-13. Morgan Howard led the way with 7 points that night for the Lady Indians. The 8th grade dropped that one to Washington tonight, 22-9. Lily Pelton had 4 points for the Indians. I mean, there's not a lot to say. It's first game of the year. There were some jitters. There were some nerves. We get 2 games next week to get going now. We'll see how things shake out the rest of the way.
I think a lot of girls are in the beginning stages of their basketball careers and learning a lot in practice right now.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a new thing for me too, because it's my first year coaching basketball. So we're all kind of learning a little bit as we go. And Coach Miller's last year coaching basketball too. We'll mention that too, that this is going to be it for him. Football opens up today as we are recording on Thursday. They play Festus tonight. We will try to add an update later. And that pretty much takes care of the Riverbend Roundup. So why don't you say we go to 425 Indian Warpath Drive.
It looks like you've got boys soccer.
And we go up to the high school and we'll talk boys soccer. Just actually talked to Coach Smith. He's out of Riverbend here with us, so it makes it real easy for catch up with some of these coaches. This year, soccer's off to a 3-3 record with wins over Festus, Washington, and U City. They had a heartbreaker to Union in the 3rd place game of their tournament. With 1 second left, I believe, Union buried the equalizer.
Yeah.
And then they went to overtime. So 4th place finish in the Pacific tournament. Trevor Clun leads the team with 4 goals and 4 assists. They have a good mix of upperclassmen and younger kids developing the chemistry daily. Enthusiastic and competitive. There's a goalie competition between Drew Beffa and Aiden Beatenstein. Aiden is actually probably pretty good at scoring as well from what I was told, so it's kind of one of those, do you put him back there? Do you put him out to get you some goals?
Yeah, we know in baseball the kid can do a lot of different things.
Yes. So he's just a utility guy in every sport. He can play multiple positions. The JV's 0-1. They lost 4-3 to Rolla in a very tough game. But it sounds like, we deal with this before. You have the upperclassmen, these younger kids trying to become friends, trying to understand where they're at on the field. So it takes a little bit of time. So we'll see how that shakes out for them.
It sounds like Coach Smith's excited about his group. The football team, they've encountered some injuries to start the season this year to some key players from last year's squad that was very exciting and put a bunch of points up on the board. They're off to an 0-3 start. They've lost to Borgia, Francis House Central, and St. Clair. They're relying on a couple of freshmen offensively to try and move the team up and down the field. Freshman Colton Kasuth and Seth Stack are leading the way for the Indians on the ground. Kasuth is a tailback, and Seth Stack's the quarterback. And, in football, playing freshmen, 15, 14-year-old kids against 18-year-old kids sometimes, it can be a learning process, and there can be some lumps.
It's almost not fair at times.
Yeah, and these kids are really good athletes, and they're going to be very, very good players, and they are actually getting some stuff done now. Stack has 192 yards passing, and his main target in 3 games has been Isaac Reeder, who's got 8 catches for 81 yards. This Friday, they got a big, big matchup with state-ranked Union. Union has been kind of the bell cow for the Four Rivers Conference as of late, and their air attack is one of the best in the state. We'll see if our defensive backs are ready to play. The JV team's still looking for that first one as well. Monday night, they lost a close one to St. Clair. I believe it was 12-6. So lots of youth within the football program. I know there's a little depth on the line this year and the offensive and defensive line, and I think the kids are itching to get that first win on the season.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have a tough test with Union coming to town this Friday. Cross country, the boys with a nice first-place finish at the New Haven Invitational. Nick Hunkins 4th, Ben Smith 10th, and Dylan Stout 13th, all medalists. Boys and girls also competed at the Stan Nelson Invitational in House Springs. Hunkins was 25th, Ben Smith was 28th, in a very large and competitive field. On the girls' side, the top runners have been Gracie Dreyer and junior Lauren Swearjohn. Coach Swearjohn has said he's impressed with the effort and enthusiasm, but most of all, the commitment to the process and the training with the cross-country program.
The volleyball squad got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, and they've rebounded very well. Their record is currently 6-5, and that's after a 1-4 start. They had a tough legacy tournament to start the season, one of the bigger tournaments in the St. Louis area. They saw a bunch of good volleyball squads early in the season to kind of set the tone. But lately, they've kind of righted the ship. They got a big 5-set win at Washington. I believe we were down 2-0 and came back to win in 5 sets on the road at Washington. And that is a very tough place to win. Great win in that contest. And this past Saturday, they won the St. Charles West tournament. They went undefeated with wins over Troy, St. Charles West, Winfield, Zumwalt West, Zumwalt East, and Holt. And they kind of just ran through those GAC schools in their tournament championship run. And that was nice to see. Monday, they took on Seckman in a rematch. And the first time they faced Seckman in that legacy tournament, they lost in 3 sets. And at home, Monday, it was a great battle, and they ended up losing in 5 sets. They play Whitfield tonight. They open the conference play next week, and things are trending up for Pacific Volleyball. And I stepped in the gym the other day, and I don't know if I've seen a volleyball team with that much size at Pacific. They have a lot of size, and youth too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when they get into conference play, and we talk about district play at the end of the year after playing all these tough teams early on. That only helps you. So now we move to girls golf. So girls golf has 5 in the program under Coach Shimza. Aaliyah Haddix has the top average so far. The girls won a meet between Union and St. Clair last week. Last night they lost to Union and St. James. During tournaments they have finished in the middle of the standings. Coach Shimza said it's a process and several girls are learning how to play. And as we both know, golf it's an easy sport to do, but it's a hard sport to be good at.
Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time. It's not like just being an athlete and going out and running up and down the field. I mean, you have to have so much eye-hand coordination and repetition and practice. It's really tough.
Yeah, because I've played for a long time, and I'm still terrible.
Well, you can join the crowd. I'm the same way. Softball. I'll jump in to the softball then. The softball team under Coach Tanya Lewis is 7-7 on the season. They've played in a couple of really tough tournaments. Leading the way for the softball team, and she's having a terrific year, is Trinity Brandhorst. I think she's sitting over 600. You might hear about her a little bit here in the next segment. But Jalen Miller, Brooke Bearden, and Trinity lead the team on the mound. They all have over 20 innings. For the pitching staff, they won a big conference game this week, 10-2 versus St. James. They also are piecing in many freshmen into that lineup and trying to get better.
Yeah, and we'll definitely hear a little bit more about the softball team because this week's guest is head coach Tanya Lewis. She'll join us here in a little bit at the backside of the show, how we always keep our interview. That part of the show stayed. There's some changes were made to the show this year, probably segments and stuff. I know everybody wants to know if one segment got cut, and it did not. We're going to go to performance of the week. All right, so for performance of the week, now that we're back, I know the kids love the performance of the week. That's what the high schoolers are all about. I know most of them just download it and skip to this part, and that's all they listen to, but that's fine. Who do you got?
Well, mine's a pretty easy one, and I couldn't pick just one player for my performance of the week, so I'm going to go with the whole team. I'm going to give some love to the Pacific volleyball team for the performance of the week. They're getting hot at the right time, moving into conference play. Like I said, Saturday, that big win at St. Charles West in the volleyball tournament. Big win against Washington. They've just put it on the GAC as of late, and that's a really pretty good volleyball conference. They look the part. You walk in the gym, they look almost like a small college team. They have a lot of size. There's a lot of enthusiasm. Coach Braymeyer has got to be happy with this group after starting off slow in that legacy volleyball tournament to start the season. He's getting the right combinations. I know there are a lot of talented volleyball players in the system beneath this varsity. When you get into the middle school, you get into even the elementary levels. Volleyball's hot right now, and they're my performance of the week. Great job, Coach. Great job, girls.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Trinity Brandhorst because, I mean, just look at the numbers. We read them already, but I'll add to her average at home runs. She's got 21 RBIs, 5 doubles, 3 triples. She's leading the way on the mound with a 4 ERA. She's 3-2 on the mound. To me, she's been – this isn't necessarily performance of the week. This is probably performance of the fall so far leading up to this. I would think that she's had one of the best performances you could have in this fall. I mean, I almost gave it to us, but I guess we can have an honorable mention from our golf tournament this weekend where we both finished in the top 3 in our respective flights.
Yeah, I was in the lowest flight, but that's the first time I've finished in placing over in Illinois. So my dad and I had a great time playing with Keith Wright and Danny Miller. We played some golf this weekend and just so happened to finish in the top of the standings this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to give a shout out to my partner, Andrew Wright, who's somebody you will know from time at Pacific High School on the career leaderboards of baseball. I just pretty much sat in the cart most of the week and let him do all the work. So.
Yeah, Drew is a pretty good player. So
we had a pretty good weekend there. You know, maybe if we had won it, we might would have been performance of the week. But
yeah, we got to go honorable mention with our golf performances.
So,
good to be back, though. I mean, it's going to be a fun fall. We've got a lot of sports coming your way. Actually, in St. Louis, we've got the Pujols home run chase. I'm going to get to go see a game tonight and sit in the bleachers, maybe catch a home run ball from him. And the NFL's starting, and it's just busy times.
Yeah, and I mean, we're at the start of the high school season, too, so we got a long way to go. There's been people that the show has grown, and that's a big thank you to everybody that is a part of this show. So I'm glad that we're here for Season 2. I hope everybody is with us again for Season 2. People have been reaching out for sponsorships and things like that, and we're still trying to figure out those kind of things. If we do figure that out, we definitely will be interested in doing things like that to help us kind of grow the show even more. Once again, any ideas anybody has, you know, we have Twitter, we have Pacific Athletics Facebook. You can message on there and give us ideas that you think we could add to this show. We're going to definitely do more player interviews this year, I think. Get some more kids on, get them comfortable in the microphone setting, because some of them are not. But before we wrap this week up, don't go anywhere, because next we're joined in studio with softball head coach Tanya Lewis. Welcome back. We are joined, well, I won't say in studio. We are actually outside down on the softball field. It's a little different look for me, but I'm joined with our head softball coach, Tanya Lewis. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I know we got a little bit of a limited time because I know you're going to Owensville today for a little round robin tournament up there. So I'll just kind of dive on in. My typical first question is just if you want to tell us a little bit about where you're from and what brought you here.
All right. Well, I am a 1988 graduate and graduated from high school in '88. I'm a homegrown, girl, and my whole family lives here and went to school here, and my mom even is a 1968 graduate of Pacific High School as well. So we love Pacific. We love this town. Love the high school. So it was natural for me when I went to college and played softball at East Central for 2 years. And then when I went to Southeast Missouri State, I had decided I was going to go into athletic training and do sports medicine. And the time commitment for that meant that I couldn't play softball at Southeast, but that was okay. By that time, I was ready to be pretty well done with it and all of that. So I went to Southeast and graduated and worked in a physical therapy office for about 12 years as an athletic trainer for Fox and Sedgman High Schools. And then Randy George actually approached me in 2004, asked if I was interested in, or if I knew how he could get an athletic trainer at Pacific. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do know how you could get an athletic trainer at Pacific, but do you know how I could get my teaching certificate? And I would be happy to come back here. And so we figured it out. We figured out a way for me to take some classes and get my certificate. And so I became the first athletic trainer here at Pacific. And then a few years in, this coaching position came open, and the athletic training is really intense and a lot of hours, and this seemed like it was just right up my alley, and so I swapped over and stopped doing the athletic training and became the head coach in 2013. Yeah, 2013. So, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, you're actually our second longest tenured coach now, I believe, with all the turnover we've had in the last 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one's catching Coach Reed, though, until he hangs up because he's got a lot on everybody.
Yes.
But yeah, me and Coach Brown were talking about that. And we're like, I think she's number 2 now because she's been here for a while, and then there was all that turnover in the past few years. I know Coach Brown had said something that he used to wander up the street and catch some bullpens for you until there were balls in the dirt, and he was kind of done. He wasn't much of a blocker.
Yeah, we lived just a few houses away from each other growing up, and I was out in the yard every single day pitching, and we had an old shed that my dad we drew a target on, and I would throw up against the old shed until I busted holes in it, and then I couldn't throw into the shed anymore, so my dad started looking for catchers of all the neighborhood boys to come up because he was tired of getting his shins hit. And Coach Brown came up and caught for me a few times, but none of them ever lasted. They would go a few times until they got hit with a softball, and then they would, suddenly they'd have stuff to do. They'd be really busy.
So where do you think your love for, I mean, it would be sports in general when you went into athletic training, but I guess the sport of softball really came from?
Well, when we moved to Pacific in East Missouri for when my parents got married, they'd moved down there, and then we moved back, and I think my mom and dad just thought it would be a good way for me to make some friends, and I was in first grade, and thought, so they signed me up at the Corey League, and I was hooked from the first moment, I think. I loved softball and just sports in general. I mean, I just love being outside, and being outside and doing things. And so when we were playing for the Corey League, we knew, we were coming up on a time when we were going to have to live pitch, and we needed pitchers. And we said, oh, everybody try it and see what you think, if you like it. And I really liked it, and it suited my personality, and pitching is not something that everyone can do, because it's in softball, and in baseball too, to a certain extent, everything kind of goes back to the pitcher, and the pitcher kind of rules, the how the tone of the game sometimes is going. And I always enjoyed that aspect of it, and I liked the pressure. I liked that, and not a lot of people can always do that. So.
And we'll talk about it here in a little bit. It
Uh-huh.
sounds like you got a pretty good pitching staff this year. Before we kind of jump to this year's team, you've had some teams over the past few years. I won't have you necessarily, I'm not saying the best or anything. It's just more like a specific moment or a specific team, a run that you guys had that just sort of sticks out that you remember.
Well, yeah, the quarterfinal run that we made, I think it was maybe 2015 or 16. I don't know.
It was probably 15 or 16.
Yeah, it was 15 or 16.
It was Marissa Tate, right?
Yeah, Marissa was pitching, and my niece was on the team, and the girls. So the girls on that team, I had coached from the time they were little girls, because my niece happened to be on it, and they had asked me to help Dale Wakefield. He and I were kind of coaching that team, and we knew they were, we had something good, there. We had the pitching, we had a good defense behind us, we had some girls that could really hit the ball well, and we were in a very favorable district that year, that we knew if we could get past a couple of key games, and keep moving forward, we could make a run for it. And Lutheran South being, one of those teams, they were, a really good team, but we knew we could play with them. And that win at Lutheran South to win the district championship is probably, one of the highlights that I think of when I think of that. Then we had a couple of sectional games that were, like I said, really were favorable in our direction. And then we came up against here at home, DeSoto, and DeSoto was state champions that year. And we played them to a 1-run loss on a line drive that the third baseman had to jump up and grab a very well hit ball. She made a phenomenal play on it, caught it, and then was able to tag the runner right next to her and get the double play. And that's how we ended up losing the game. We had bases loaded and pressuring in the bottom of the 7th. So.
Yeah, I kind of remember that game, that it was right there to give DeSoto all they wanted in that one. And then, like you said, they went on to win the title. And that's something we talk about, too, on the baseball side of things. But, I mean, I think softball's kind of similar here in Pacific, where it's a long line of just teams that have performed really well and taken over. And I've kind of asked Coach Reed that question, too. So, I mean, I'll ask it of you. Is it a little more pressure, you think, to take over your alma mater and know what the background was? Obviously, you've done a great job. We had a quarterfinal run, and you've already added to that legacy. So, was there any just thoughts about that when you started?
Well, yeah, I think you do feel the pressure because you care. You care about it. It is your alma mater. It's where you played. I put on the purple and wore the purple, for 4 years, and we didn't have the opportunity when I was in high school to go to districts. And we played spring ball still. And for softball, the big change over to fall ball didn't happen until, later on, after I graduated a few years. They did allow us to make one run. They gave us special permission, if you will. But a lot of the girls were still playing volleyball. So we had, the year that I was a junior, we had just a really good team that year. And they allowed us to play enough fall ball games to be able to qualify for the district tournament. And like I said, a lot of the girls were still double duty. They were playing volleyball at the same time. But we went for it, and we ran up against Northwest House Springs in the first game and lost to them by 1 run in the first round of districts. And it was super disappointing, my junior year, but yeah, knowing, how that felt, to be able to, the excitement of that, for Pacific, and you're representing your hometown and all that, it does put a little fire under you, if you will, just to try to put out the best team that you can possibly do.
Yeah, and that's why we make it kind of a big thing about the PHS alumni that are sticking around to coach is, you get to wear the purple again. Yeah. You think at some point you're done, but then you get an extra 4, 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it ends up being. Okay, so we jump into this year's team. You kind of have an interesting group here. You're kind of made up of some upperclassmen, but then there's some really talented freshmen that are kind of coming in. How has it been to try to find the balance of who goes where and who plays?
Well, keep saying this, but it's been a good problem to have, but it is a problem, sometimes. I have a really talented group of juniors that came in a couple of years ago, and I have some seniors that, are really good and are doing well. And then I had quite a few freshmen come in that are really talented group. So it's been I said for the first time since I've been coaching, I had 5 pitchers. I've never had that. Usually we're making do with one really good one and then, a couple that can get the ball across the plate and help us out, when we need it. And so I've had 5 really good pitchers, 2 juniors, 3 freshmen. And so, it's been a challenge. It's been, kind of a little bit of a balancing act for us this year, trying to figure out, who's doing the job, who's getting the job done. We've been able to kind of look at, who's hitting the ball and, if we can get the offense out of them, then that's who is making some starts, and like I said, I've never been in that position before where I've been able to actually have choices and do that. So
yeah, depth is a fun problem to have.
Yes.
And we talk about the pitching. You kind of led by Jalen Miller, Trinity Brandhorst, and Brooke Bearded on the mound this year. It seems like on the varsity level. Mostly, is it just kind of like you said, whoever's been hot at the plate maybe gets in, or whoever's been hot on the mound gets that ball that day?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Trinity and Jalen are my. They're my top 2. I mean, they've been pitching since they were freshmen, on the varsity level to a certain extent. And both of them, especially Trinity this year, I mean, her bat right now, she's unbelievable. She's in the top 3 in, the whole area, in St. Louis, everywhere, as far as her batting statistics and everything go. Jalen hits the ball well, too. So, even when Jalen's not pitching or even when Trinity's not pitching, they're still on the field, just in other positions. And that's the nice thing is that they have that versatility. I don't have to pitch them. And with softball, it's different than baseball because, with softball girls, pitchers, you can pitch. I mean, I could pitch them 3 games a day if I wanted to, and I don't have to have that downtime or that wait time in between. Yeah, that's been kind of my decision, making. We had Brooke come in this year, and she's a freshman, and she throws the ball really well. If she keeps going the way that she is, I would like to say she may be the best pitcher that Pacific has had in a while. She's really good as a freshman, and she's only going to keep getting better. She's struggling with her bat a little bit right now, but she also, I've put her in at third base a couple of times, and she's really phenomenal on the field, too. So, I have, like I said, I feel wealthy this year. I feel like I have, a whole host of girls that really can make an impact.
Yeah, and I got to know Brooke last year at Riverbend, and I know she's the type of athlete that will keep working. I have her sister in 7th grade, so I assume they're similar. So
yes,
they're going to both get after it all the time. Before we kind of wrap up, though, goals, kind of things that you're looking to do as we tail off in the season. I know softball is one of those weirder ones that ends way before the rest of the fall sports. Is there anything that you guys are looking to accomplish as you move through the rest of the year?
Well, yeah, we would like to be over 500. We are as of right now. We're 8-7, so we'd like to keep that going in that direction. We are, unfortunately, they moved us districts last year, and we do not have the best district choice. We've been put in a district with powerhouses like Rockwood Summit, who's just tough this year and every year, really. And also Washington, defending state champions, probably will be state champions again this year if I had my guess at this point. So that's, Webster Groves. We've got one of the toughest districts, I think, in the state. So not saying we can't rise up to that challenge and meet it. We played Washington at Seckman last weekend, and I was really impressed for the first couple of innings with the girls. I mean, they were hitting the ball well off of Washington's pitchers, and we were hanging with them for the first couple of innings. But Washington I don't know if anybody can stop them as far as their offense goes. Once they start hitting the ball, they're tough. So we've got that to look forward to. That potentially we'll have to come back around at districts and play Washington, Rockwood Summit. They're the same way. So that's going to be a challenge for us. We know we can do it. I mean, I have no doubt. Have no doubt that we could play with either of those teams if we get to where we're playing as a team and everybody's kind of firing and on all cylinders and all of that. But that's going to be a challenge for us for sure.
Well, Coach, I will let you go because I know you have a bus to get to, and I wish you the best of luck today at Owensville.
Thank you.
So there you go. That's Coach Tanya Lewis joining us this week. Until next week, everybody, keep up the chatter.